So, welcome everyone to the Light of the World Learning Webinar. Today, our guest speaker is Reverend Ward Lewis. And Ward is the president and founder of American English Schools, also known as English Outreach. And he has been doing some wonderful work in the country of Zambia in Africa. And so today, Ward is going to be presenting and telling us about this important pilot project. So, welcome, Reverend Ward.
Well, it's so good to be with you. I feel like this is almost a home for me because Melina and I have been partnering really pretty much all through uh, the whole project of English schools and particularly the Light of the World program. And so we go way back and I feel like she's just such a wonderful partner. Now, are you going to advance these, Melina, or
Yes, I will.
okay? Well, first, I wanted to share with this picture here. This is actually a second generation group of students. The first church that we planted in Zambia was from a little village outside Chapata, and it was completely, I'm not ready to move on. I want to share. It was completely non-Christian. They had been resistant to all Christian efforts, and this little village, because of the literacy programs that LEI and at that time LEI and what we were doing, every one of the students became Christians, and this is their children. And so this is a second generation, and they had no school because they were so far away from all of the public schools. It would have been about a 20-mile walk for them to be able to get to school. So they just didn't go. And so they had no opportunity at all. And so we started a school for them, and they are very proud here that they have accomplished uh, their test for the English for the Light of the World program. So I think that that's a very interesting picture, and it shows the intergenerational impact that we have when we bring people to the Lord. That's just the start of what God's doing. That's not the end, that's the beginning. And so you can go ahead now. And so, what are we trying to do? Well, of course, Jesus told us that we're to go make disciples. And the way that you make disciples is a long process. It's not a short process. Helping people to decide to follow Jesus is close to the beginning, not the end. That's kind of where you get going, and beyond that, there's a whole lot. And so, what we want to do is we want to help them to be literate, and we also want to help them to be leaders. And so, it's very important that we develop a great number of people who are going to lead this world morally and correctly and in the right direction. And so we feel like we're also in the leadership training business. Okay. You want to go on? Okay, there we go. So I had prepared this presentation for my board. And so I kind of went back as to the how in the world I ever got into this. And there was a PBS special that I saw, and I never watched PBS, so it was pretty amazing that I saw this. But they were showing this English school in the Philippines, and it had been so successful, it just transformed the entire island. And it was something I was just blown away, not because I didn't know about uh, people using Bible-based English to help people. I did know about it, but the sheer scale, the amount of interest just blew me away. I mean, I could hardly believe there were that many people that were interested in learning English. And so I was a retired pastor at that time, and I was looking for ways to be able to bring people into the kingdom. And so my goal was to bring more people into the kingdom in my years of retirement than it was during my years as a pastor. I'm pretty sure we've blown way past that one already. So it's really great the blessings that God has given me. But that's how became interested in English education. So it is just amazing how many people. This is there in Zambia. That's a Lusaka school. And they just announced that they were going to have an English lesson, and the students just piled in, and they also combined it with a Bible lesson. And I have another picture of these same group of students praying. It's just awesome, the impact, the number of people that are there. And this is an amazing statistic to us, is that there are 1.5 billion people studying English now, and that's more than 15% of the entire planet. I mean, this is such an amazing opportunity. And what we want to do is to use that for the Lord and for his kingdom. And so I helped with a Bible college in Southeast Asia, and they wanted to standardize on English for their students because they had such a problem in Myanmar. I think they had over 70 languages in their country. And in fact, they had 11 languages just in the little group that we were working with. And it was such a problem for them that they decided they were going to standardize on all the students learning English, so just so they could communicate with them all. And so they started English classes for the students and the teachers, and they wanted us to be able to help them. Well, as we were doing that, I was telling the chancellor of the school that this is something that this is, I mean, you're training people to be pastors and church workers. And so what you want to do is to plant churches. And so this is a great church planting strategy. And you need to be teaching people to do this. Well, he was totally resistant to it because he said, well, that's not our mission. We're not a we're not teaching English teachers, we're teaching preachers. And so he was just completely opposed to the idea. And then one day he called me out of the blue, and Melanie, you can go ahead and advance it to the next one here. He said that he wanted to meet with me, and so I couldn't figure out what was going on, but he had, believe it or not, a campus in Indianapolis, Indiana. They have so many people from Myanmar and Indiana, and both in Fort Wayne and Indianapolis, that they actually have an extension there. But he, he told me that they were going to do what I had been urging them to. And at first I couldn't even figure out, but he said, you know, that thing that you want us to do to teach English. And I said, well, why, what happened? And so he shared with me this picture, and this pastor, as the one with the microphone there, is a former Buddhist priest, and he's very well educated. He's also a medical doctor, and he's got a master's degree in ministry and very, very gung ho for the gospel, wanted to be able to be full time in ministry. And so he figured that the way to do that was to start an English school. And out of that, he planted a church, and the church was much bigger than this class. I have another picture of the church, but I didn't include that. But it is like twice as many students. And they were just blown away because in Myanmar, the churches were just really tiny, and they were very, very small. And so they got their eyes open, and now they wanted to use this program. Well, as we were meeting with uh, the chancellor in Indianapolis, the person that I was working with, Ted York, with the Bible League, invited Melina and another person to join us in the meeting because it was about curriculum. And so I told Melina in that meeting, well, my vision is that we have material that goes all the way up to college entrance because that we don't want to turn them over to secular humanists. We want to prepare them for Christian work. And she kind of gave me a look and said, well, here's what we have. And so as we talked later, she said, well, there just isn't anything like that. And so I shared, well, I think that we ought to uh, do that. Well, apparently God had already been talking to her. And I don't know if I had anything to do with her going forward with this program. But from that point on, we went forward with the program. And so the light of the world was born a little bit uh, out of that prompt, maybe, but I think that God was in it and he was directing her into this marvelous thing that is right now changing thousands and thousands of lives, and I believe is going to be changing millions of lives as we go forward. So I'm so excited and honored to be part of what Melina is doing. You know, I think this is such a blessing from God, and it is really, it's just amazing what's happening. So you can go ahead. And so this was the development, the Light of the World program. These are some of the early lessons, and I'm sure you've all seen these, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. And this is all Bible based. It's something every lesson has a Bible component. One of the things that Melina did was to give me the name of this young man who had contacted them and wanted to start an English school. And his name was Aubrey Mwambi. And he uh, needed somebody to help him along the way. And so we kind of began to mentor him and we helped him to be able to get this board, this whiteboard, so that he could start teaching the lessons. This is the first class that he had. He had a friend who allowed them to hold the class there in his apartment. And you notice here that we have both adults and children in this class. We soon found out that didn't work very well because the children run circles around the adults. And so the adults start feeling like, whoa, what's going on here? Why are these kids doing so great and I can't even figure this thing out? And so we had to separate the children, not because they couldn't do it, but because they could do it so well. So here is the uh, first set of lessons. This was actually teaching the native language, and then we went into English with the Light of the World lessons, and I think there were 7 or 8 students in that class. And every one of them gave their hearts to the Lord. And that's not at all unusual. In fact, the smallest number that I've ever heard uh, and this comes from the Bible League because they keep track of how many people make commitments. And they tell us that the smallest number they've seen is 50%. And with children, it's 60%. And with teenagers, it's 70%. So this is a very, very powerful method of helping people to find faith, to find Jesus, and to find direction in their life as well as learning literacy and really improving their lives. So here's the church that was born out of it. You see that there's a lot more people in the church than there was in the literacy class. And so that means they're telling their friends and neighbors and bringing in their family, and that's the way it's supposed to work. This is something that is going on all over the world. And this is a class in Cuba that's in Havana. And we have a lady that's part of our team here in Fort Wayne that helped to arrange this. And some of the people that were trainers from Canada went down there. And I don't know, some of you might be part of that team. So this is so wonderful, the things that God is doing all over the world. It even happens in Fort Wayne. There, who's that person right there? Well, Melina came and we had so many teachers sign up for it. She almost wanted me to cut it off, and I said, "No, no, please, let's not cut it off because I've got some more people that I want to bring into this thing." So we had about 20 teachers sign up for this, and it was a wonderful conference, and that is still impacting Fort Wayne right now. Well, one of the amazing things that happened was that I recognize the possibility of this being used in school systems. And so, with Aubrey's help and the team that we were developing there in Zambia, we have people that are with the Bible League there in Zambia that have joined our team, and people in the church that I'm associated with. And, this is an effort that is just really broad-based. And we submitted it to the Ministry of Education to see if they would approve it. Well, lo and behold, they actually did. And the person who was from the Bible League Zambia organization that was helping us in Lusaka went to the Ministry of Education. And it just happened to walk in, and the person he met immediately was this guy with the white shirt there, and he just happens to be the guy who decides on the curriculum. And so he was the head of curriculum development. Now, I personally think that's a pretty amazing thing. Well, he was so impressed with the material that he joined our team. He's part of our work there in Zambia right now today. So I just was with him about a month ago. And so it's just wonderful how God is working. And so we partner with the local churches in Zambia. One of the things that we're trying to get off the ground, and we have a long way to go yet, but we want the schools to have a church to partner with them, because what we're trying to do is to help the whole family. And so we thought of things like maybe a literacy night or spelling bees or homework assistance, or various ways that churches could come alongside the school and help the teachers and partner with the teachers. And so pray for this one, because we're still trying to get this organized, and we think this is an exciting opportunity. Oh no, I got malaria. I got it right away. It didn't take long. I think the first week I wound up with malaria. This is in Kebwe, and we were going to do a teacher training, but I got malaria, and that's the doctor, and over on the far left, and the pharmacist that's in the center there. And they were quite excited to have me for a patient because they don't get very many Americans, I think. And so it was a good time. I enjoyed getting to meet them, and I promised that if they'd come to America, I'd help show them around. And they were very excited about that. So I may wind up taking some people on a tour of America when they get here. So I may have stuck my foot in my mouth on that one, but we'll see what happens. So they got me out of bed and stood me up there. I didn't train these people. My team trained these people. I think that's so great. And they are so excited, and they did a wonderful they're very, very excited about the opportunity that they have. These are all Christian school teachers. And uh, that lady in the purple that you see kind of off to the right in the second row back, she is one of our teachers and one of our team members. And she was so impressed with this that she rounded up all of these teachers and and got them to come. And that worked out really well for us because we wanted to have an opportunity to test out our presentation in front of a live group and before we started with the public school teachers. And so what we are doing is a pilot program where we want to find out what works and we want to be able to document what is the whole program as far as the efficiency of teaching English and morality. But anyway, this young lady rounded up all of these teachers, and she's just a wonderful part of our team. She was part of our meeting last night and very actively involved in what we're doing. So here, it's like the next day beyond that. So I'm just barely able to stand up, but we're speaking to all of these people here. And this is a community school in Lusaka. And so they were very receptive. But, we just moved forward and we started then with the regular teacher training. You can go ahead. And this is in Chapata. This was the first group of teachers. And the teachers were just so receptive. I was really afraid that uh, we were going to have some reluctance because you don't know what you're getting. With the church school, you know pretty much what you're getting. You're getting people that love Jesus and want to advance what you're doing. And when you're talking about the public school, well, now we're talking about morality and uh, they had some questions and we answered their questions and they became uh, very, very excited. In fact, they told us that they feel like this is something that they want to see instead of the program that the government is giving them. So this is that group, and you see the smiles on their faces. They were so excited. They wanted to stand around and take pictures with us, and they're all part of our team right now. Um, some of them have kept very close communication with us, and so they're very excited. So we go on. This is in Lusaka. Um, that's the capital city. This was supposed to be the largest group, but somehow the um, the word didn't get out, and only less than half the number of teachers were invited as we had expected to be invited, and they had told us they would invite. And so this group should have been twice that size, but you know, that's okay because we ran up against our limits anyway, and we have more students and we have books right now, so we really couldn't have bitten off a substantially larger group of students than what we did. And then this is Kebwe. Kebwe is about 4 hours traveling time north of Lusaka, which is the capital. And so this is our second trip to Kebwe. Our first trip was the group that you saw of the private schools. These are the public school teachers. And so every one of these, I told them that they are so privileged because they're going to get paid to teach this. Almost everybody else is unpaid. And so I had our team members come by and say, how much are we paying you? And they'd say nothing. Well, I'm not getting paid anything. So you're going to be able to get paid to do this. And so that is really a blessing. And so it's wonderful that they have that, and I hope that they appreciate it. So we had car problems. One of the big problems that we had was I had this idea that rather than renting a car for the same amount of money, we could buy a car. And so I thought we would do that. Well, it turned out that the car that they got was really just all kinds of problems. And we're still having those problems. It cost us thousands of dollars to just keep this thing going, and we weren't able to use it. So it was really kind of a big disaster. But, well, what do? You just move forward. This is from the presentation that I was giving to the teachers, and this is on how to um train them that using the Bible portion. And I wanted to give them the vision that I believe that Zambia can become a blessing to the entire world. And the way that they can become a blessing to the world is to fulfill what I think is God's desire for Zambia to become a place where you develop future leaders, and that they do that by really helping them to be intellectual giants and have morality. And leaders need to have character. It is really important. Just imagine if you had somebody that was very intelligent, had lots of knowledge, but no morality. I mean, that's a scary thought because they can do great damage. And so it's very important to have leaders with great morality and character, and that is what we bring. And so, what we want to do is to help people to be able to move forward with their uh, leadership skills, but to do it in a way that is blessing really humanity. And of course, we went through one of the Bible lessons. This was a Bible lesson out of the first lesson. And I think it's really remarkable that this works because you think about students and they're just learning their ABCs. You know, part of this lesson is ABC. And here we give an entire sentences, and it's actually works. Uh, I have personally been in class where not one person, it was about 18 people in this class I'm thinking of, and this was a mixture of adults and children. It was something, obviously wasn't ideal, but uh, they all didn't speak English at all. And within one lesson, they could all read this sentence. They could all read this verse. Not only that, but they understood it. They understood what it meant and the process that is used. And it's really based upon teaching whole language and doing it from the basis of understanding, because we start with um, the Bible in their own heart language, and we make sure that they thoroughly understand the verse in their heart language first, and then we introduce the English version, and we just spend a lot of time breaking it down so that they understand how to say the words and what they mean and everything about it. And so we really spend the time to help them to develop understanding and the whole language all at once. And it's just amazing. They all could read it, every one of them, and they could come back next week and they could still read it. And they had amazing understanding of it. So, this whole language approach using the Bible is so powerful and effective. And I think it's really the heart of why this is such an exceptional program. So, the benefits for the students are just really amazing because as you're doing this, you give them enhanced language skills, of course. And more than that, God's word speaks to them. And so as they're breaking this sentence down, you know, some of them have never heard that God loves them, that God is love, that there's a loving God. They've never heard that message. And so, that's a wonderful drawing to uh, somebody to have their very first lesson be about God's love. And of course, the other thing is that as we start to really unpack the meaning of this and to one of the things that we have as a benefit that we have high quality teachers. I mean, most all of these teachers have a college education and they're professional teachers. And so, we can get them to uh, do things that are perhaps more difficult for a non-trained teacher. But, this is something that they can actually improve their IQ through neuroplasticity, which, of course, is where the brain develops connections and they think at a higher level. And so, what are we doing? Well, we're helping people fulfill God's design in their lives, which I believe is to be a leader in the world and help other people use their life for the benefit of others. So, our key strategy here is is uh, really to have a a synergistic effect, and this works so well. You have whole language learning, which we've talked about, and you have the character education from the Bible, and you use advanced questions. You really unpack it. It's basically uh, a Bible study that, is really helping to unpack the meaning of it and how to apply it. And when you're doing that, you really you do a lot. You expose them to a rich vocabulary. They get to have more natural language skills. They begin to understand grammar that you're not even teaching them. It helps them to build thinking skills, and it develops their ability to understand and interpret language, and they can analyze things. They can be able to use it in a different set of circumstances. And of course, character development. That's what we're all about. We're about helping them not only to follow Jesus, but to really become the leader and the person that God desires for them to be. And that's again getting back to this Great Commission thing that we are in the business of making disciples. And of course, it helps them to think about the values, not only themselves, but their families. And so we want to reach the families as well. And so this is just a tremendous strategy, I think. So I left Zambia. We have a pilot program now in Zambia right now today with 3,778 students in the pilot program. And we have just a lot of private schools. In addition to that, probably another 3 or 4 thousand private school students that are coming on board here. We had planned on doing a training session here in January, but some of our team is not available, so it looks like we're going to have to push that back into February. But we could have another 3 or 4 thousand students this year in the private schools, and they wouldn't be part of our pilot program, but they're so excited by what they're seeing that they want to just start adopting the program right now. Now, what are we trying to do? Well, uh, go on to the next slide here. Our goal is to break the chains that people have. And by chains, I'm talking about what holds them back. And what holds them back are not just financial chains. And certainly we want to help them get out of poverty, but they're spiritual chains. And I personally think that the spiritual chains are more important than the chains of poverty because this is about who we are. And we want to make sure that we're helping people and who they are. So we have the pilot program, we have a control group, and we have the pilot group, and we're going to test both groups with English skills test. And we're also going to, in a few weeks down the road, do a character assessment. Now, we're going to have the teachers, once they get to know the students a little better, be able to help us with the character assessment. We're also going to send home a survey for the parents to fill out about that. And then about 6 months down the road, we're going to do the same thing again with the idea of assessing the improvement. Now, I'd like to be able to um, do that assessment after the full school year, but that poses kind of a problem for us, and maybe the Lord will give us insight on this. But we want to be able to persuade the decision makers that this is something they want to go with, and be able to purchase the books, because the cost of the program is very low, because the material itself is free. We're donating the material for free as far as the lessons, but somebody has to pay to print the books. And so the book printing is not free. We can't give that away free, because you're talking, there are 2 million students in the 10,000 schools that have been made available to us. And so, we just don't have those kinds of funds. And so what we want them to do is to purchase the books, pay for the printing, and we can make sure that it's probably the cheapest book they'll ever buy, as far as a book for their classroom like that. And so we want to see if that can happen. Now, if that happens, we'll have a self-funding ministry to millions of students. Now, isn't that remarkable? I think that's exciting. And the Christian schools are already doing that. They're talking about getting up the funds to be able to do another printing, and that's what this training that we have coming up in February is all about. And then as we progress forward and we can demonstrate that, this gives them English literacy and moral development. When we can prove that and we can say, look at what Zambia is doing, we're going to be taking this to other countries as well. Well, some of the other countries are not waiting. I think I've had 4 people from Malawi already saying, we want to be part of your team. We want to bring this to our country. And so God is moving very quickly. It's breaking out all over the place in Africa, and a lot of excitement. And I think that you're really blessed if you're part of this ministry, because we're really changing the world. Oh, Melina, can you show that video that I just got this morning? Do we have time to do that?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not set up to share a video at this point, but we can
Oh,
make that available on our YouTube channel.
okay. Well, the video is one that you'll definitely want to watch. It's quite amazing.
Well, thank you so much, Reverend Ward, for this presentation today. This is really exciting to hear um, all that's going on in Zambia, and we are so grateful to you for all of your work in making this possible. I'm going to stop the recording right now, and then I'm going to open up our session to questions and answers from our participants to Reverend Lewis.